Donald Trump dodged the draft in Vietnam. Now, he did so through deferment because of his college education. And then he received a doctor's note indicating that he had bone spurs, which would be a problem if he were drafted and had to fight. Well, the New York Times did a little investigation to figure out who the doctor was that signed off on that doctor's note. And it turns out that that doctor is unfortunately no longer with us, but his daughters are still around. And they spoke to the New York Times and basically said, yeah, seems like Trump didn't really have bone spurs, and our dad signed off on this letter because he got some favors from Fred Trump. Let me explain. So the foot doctor, let's keep it real, it's the foot doctor, okay? Dr. Larry Braunstein died back in 2007, but his daughters say their father often told the story of coming to the aid of a young Trump during the Vietnam War as a favor to his father, Fred Trump. So his daughter, Alyssa, says, I know it was a favor, but did he examine him? Meaning, did he examine Trump? I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't have bone spurs.
He didn't.
She explained that her dad would bring that up a lot, and it was family lore, even before Trump ran for president, way before Trump ran for president, and so they all knew that their dad had written this note and apparently got some favors in return. There's a good reason why he probably didn't want to talk about it. It's illegal. What Trump did is also illegal. I'll explain that in a second.
Now, what he received in terms of favors was some goodies when it came to his housing situation. So Fred Trump, of course, was a real estate developer, and he owned buildings throughout New York. And Dr. Braunstein happened to live in one of his units. And so what he got was access to Fred Trump. If there was anything wrong in the building, my dad, this is his daughter speaking, by the way, my dad would call and Trump would take care of it immediately. That was the small favor that he got. I would argue, especially in these days, that's actually a pretty big favor. So for instance, Dr. Braunstein didn't have to worry about rent increases. Fred Trump, according to this doctor's daughters, did not raise the rent on their father while he was living in Fred Trump's unit. And so, I mean, it makes sense. Favor for a favor, tit for tat.
In fact, that's part of the reason why they changed the system in Vietnam to make it a draft instead of the old system. And so that's related to this story as well. So until 1969, we had a different system where rich people kept getting out of the war by coming up with these nonsense letters. And so it was a well-known phenomenon. Trump had already gotten 4 exemptions for being in college, and that's okay, those are educational deferments. And it's not like he went back into college to try to avoid the war. He was at a college age, so there's nothing terribly wrong with that, although he's in favor of wars, although finally he's withdrawing some here. But it's basically a chicken hawk, like Dick Cheney was, Tom DeLay, Newt Gingrich, all those guys were, right? So, but the 5th deferment, he was already out of college, and the draft had not started yet. Trump later lied and said, "Oh, I got out of it because of a very high draft number." No, the draft didn't start till 1969. The bone spur excuse was in 1968. It had nothing to do with a draft number. So that is absolutely clear. That has been clear throughout. I love this story. I wanted us to investigate this. We just don't have the manpower to chase down every podiatrist in Queens to try to figure out. But the New York Times does. That's what they're good at, right? And they did. And they finally found the people. And so this is now the daughter saying, yeah, my father had an office there, et cetera, and got these favors. You can understand why they didn't want to come forward before. It's actually a crime to do fraud in selective service, and you could get up to 5 years in prison. Now, Dr. Braunstein has passed away. He passed away in 2007. It's possible that Dr. Manny Weinstein was also involved, and he's also passed away. But Trump is not. So lock him up. Lock him up.
Yeah.
Okay. The reality is statute of limitations on that kind of crime runs out in 5 years as well, so you couldn't actually lock him up. But did he lie about getting why he couldn't go to Vietnam? He definitely lied about why he couldn't go. He pretended it was the high lottery number, which is not true. And did he have the bone spurs? Of course he didn't have the bone spurs. That's why I wanted to investigate it, because it was the most obvious lie you've ever seen.
So again, the doctor's daughter, Alyssa, who also happens to be a doctor, by the way, said the implication from her father was that Trump did not have a disqualifying foot ailment.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. So I want to give you guys a little bit more context on that as well. When they asked him, which foot do you have a bone spur in, he once said that he couldn't remember it. It might have been both. Come on. Okay.
So when you have that kind of medical condition, especially when it's your feet, you remember. You remember.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. And when they asked him, so do you remember who wrote you the letter? Conveniently, of course, he forgot. He might have forgotten if there really was a real letter. There was a letter, it just wasn't real, right? But he did say this: I got a very strong letter from a doctor. What does that mean? How is a letter from a doctor strong?
The doctor did push-ups while writing the letter.
Okay. So. What he means, of course, is I got my daddy to write me a strong letter getting me out of the war because I'm a coward. So I don't want to go to wars I actually support. I want your kids to go to those wars and die. And over 50,000 of them did die instead of Donald Trump. He was an athlete in college. And then he comes out and says, oh, bone spurs, daddy, please write me a letter. That's who Donald Trump is. Finally, there is one part of the story that does make sense. Initially, he had a 1Y classification, which in '72 was abolished. And it was changed to a 4F. What is that? It is a permanent disqualification. And if anything describes Trump accurately, it is a permanent disqualification. So he should be disqualified from office as well. But this is one of 1,000 lies that he has told. The more important part of this story is not the lie, which we're all very used to. It's the unearned confidence. Oh, I'm strong. The letters I got from my doctor are strong. Everything is strong. But the reality is, when it came time to fight, he ran. He ran and he hid behind his daddy. That's who Donald Trump is. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.